In a small French town, lost among the pastorals, life flowed in a measured and austere manner, as it had been for centuries. The town seemed timeless, its inhabitants lived according to the precepts of their ancestors, honoring traditions and strictly observing the norms of decency. Over all this order invisibly but tangibly ruled the mayor of the town, Count Renaud. He was a man of strict morals and tried to keep life in the town as it had been for decades. The people respected him and followed his example, especially in matters of faith and virtue. However, his iron grip kept the townspeople not only in order but also in fear. One of the main sources of this fear was Easter, a time of strict fasting and religious purification. The Count zealously made sure that everyone observed this fast, but soon something happened in the town that changed the usual way of life and shook up the established order. At this time, Vienne Roche, a mysterious woman and her young daughter Anouk, burst into town like a hurricane. They came to town with the intention of opening not just a store, but a chocolate store. This event came as a shock to all the inhabitants, for opening such a shop in the post seemed the height of sacrilege. Vienne's store was not like the other stores. It opened its doors on a windy day, as if defying the established rules and regulations. It was warm and cozy inside, the air was filled with the sweet aroma of cocoa and spices, and the windows were bursting with a variety of chocolates, each one looking like a work of art. From the first day, Vienne attracted the attention of the townspeople with her smile, kindness, and openness, which contrasted with the harshness and insularity of their daily lives. But her presence also displeased the mayor, who felt that such a shop undermined his authority and the morals of the town. At first, the residents were distrustful of Vienne. Her free spirit, casualness, and independence frightened people who had been brought up in the strict bounds of propriety. However, Vienne was a strong and determined woman. She was not going to give in to pressure and close her shop. Moreover, she began to establish contact with the people of the city, giving each of them signs of attention that they could not help but appreciate. It was as if she knew what each person was missing, and offered exactly what could make their lives a little better, a little sweeter. One of the first people who couldn't resist Vienne's charm and her chocolate creations was Armande, an elderly woman who lived next door. Armande was the mother of Caroline Clermont, a woman who, like the mayor, strove to maintain order and decorum, but unlike the mayor, did so out of a desire to protect her son Luc, not for power. Caroline feared that Vienne would be a bad influence on her son and tried to limit his contact with her and Armande. However, Armande was not about to submit to her daughter and soon became a frequent visitor to the chocolate shop. She found in Vienne not only a new friend, but also an ally in the fight for her right to live the life she wanted despite her daughter's protests and society's condemnation. Meanwhile, a group of river gypsies arrived in town, who, despite their reputation as nomads and outcasts, brought a new wave of freedom and independence to the town. Among them was Roux, a young and freedom-loving man who immediately caught Vienne's eye. A mutual affection developed between them, and Vienne, despite the judgment of others, could not hide her feelings for Roux. The affair, like her shop, caused a wave of resentment among the town's inhabitants, who saw in him a threat to their principles. Count Renaud was particularly outraged. He believed that Vienne was destroying his city and his power. His resentment grew by the day, and he began to take increasingly desperate measures to get rid of Vienne and her shop. At first he tried to influence her through the townspeople, convincing them to boycott her shop, but his attempts were unsuccessful. Although many of the townspeople continued to adhere to the strict rules, they could not resist the magic of chocolate and the warmth that Vienne gave them. Gradually, she began to win the hearts of even those who were initially against her. One such person was Josephine Muscat, the wife of an abusive and oppressive husband. Vienne helped Josephine find the strength to leave her husband and start a new life. They became close friends, and Josephine began to work in Vienne's shop, finding in this business not only a livelihood but also the meaning of life. For the first time in her life she felt free and independent. This was symbolic because it was Vienne who helped her to discover the taste of chocolate on the tongue. At this time, feelings develop between Vienne and Roux and their relationship becomes more and more intimate. Roux helps Vienne organize a feast where they are going to gather all the people of the town to share the joy and happiness that chocolate brings. This feast has come to symbolize the new life, the new spirit that Vienne has brought to the town. But Count Renaud could not accept that his power over the town was slipping away. On Easter Eve, he decides to take one last, desperate step. The night before the holiday, he sneaks into Vienne's shop, intent on destroying everything she has created. In a fit of rage and despair, he begins to smash the windows, trying to destroy the chocolate, which he believes was the embodiment of all the sins and temptations that Vian had brought to the city. However, after accidentally tasting one of the chocolates, he suddenly realizes that he is unable to resist this temptation. The next day Vian finds him in her shop, broken and humiliated, realizing the futility of his struggle. This moment becomes a turning point not only for the Count, but for the whole town. The inhabitants of the town, who were previously afraid to go beyond the established norms, begin to realize that happiness and joy do not always consist in strict adherence to the rules and that sometimes you need to allow yourself a little freedom and pleasure. The celebration was a great success and was attended by almost all the residents of the city. The day was a symbol of reconciliation and a new beginning for everyone. Vian had finally found her place in the town and the townspeople accepted her and her daughter Anouk as their own. The town changed, it became more open, more alive, and happier. People began to see Vian not as a threat, but as a salvation, and she brought more than just chocolate into their lives. She brought them an opportunity for choice, an opportunity to be happy. After the feast, Vian felt her mission was accomplished. The winds of change that had brought her to this town had subsided. She realized it was time to hit the road again, but this time she didn't have to run. For the first time in a long time, she felt she had found a home, found people who accepted her for who she was and who could move on with their lives, remembering her lessons. But she decides to stay. The decision to stay in the town rather than follow the wind further symbolizes her inner change in finding her true home. Meanwhile, Rue, who is not only a friend to Vian but also a symbol of freedom, leaves as a freedom-loving nomad should. But now she knows he will return because there is more than passion between them. Vian realizes that now she is not drawn to change, that she has found what she has been looking for all her life, a place where she is loved and accepted. Josephine has also found her happiness and independence. She was able not only to leave her tyrant husband, but also to start a new life, free and full. Armande, despite her age and illness, found peace knowing that her grandson Luc would grow up free from the fears and prejudices that oppressed her. Luc finally began to live his own life, not the one imposed on him by his mother and society. As for Count Renaud, he too had changed. He realized that he could not control everything and everyone, that everyone has the right to happiness and that his own happiness also consisted not in strict adherence to the rules, but in the ability to forgive and accept others as they are. He realized that freedom is not a threat, but an opportunity to live life to the fullest, and that in order for the city to prosper, people must be allowed to be themselves. So ends the story of how one woman and her chocolate changed a small town, how they taught its people to enjoy life and embrace it with all its colors, tastes, and aromas. Vian stayed in the town, but no longer as a stranger, but as a full part of it, as a symbol of change and freedom, which can come into everyone's life, if only you allow yourself to open your heart to new possibilities and flavors of life.